Well, this is weird, e-learners. So the camera in the class, this is an infinite zoom, right? All right.
Hey, Jenna.
All right, so we're going to give this a shot, Jenna. If this doesn't, I mean, the video will be fine when I post it later on, but I don't know if this is going to, because I usually have a wired connection here. So we'll see how this works. And I know that there's a glare there. I can do nothing about that glare. Yeah, let's try that. Somebody hit the lights.
What happened to your set?
I mean, I'm using the head of a pen for this one because I lost the little pointy bit. I'm gonna break off this pencil and just jam into this.
Let's go. That's not
It's gonna work. I hope. Geometry.
I like this.
It's dark mode geometry, guys.
This feels good on my eyes.
All right, here we go. Hey, I've said it ad nauseum, the fact that if you do not have compass and protractor, you cannot pass this test. It is absolutely positively essential. You can't take the test without a compass. You can take it without a protractor, but you can't take it without a compass. So, man, I'm really worried every year that I give this particular chapter. If there's a chapter you can easily get an A on it, it's this one. It's just drawing. By the way, it's going to give you steps for the drawing. If you can read and follow a step, you can get an A on it this test. Here we go. Here's your homework. We have basically, it's just two constructions, construction 1, construction 2. I break construction down into 2 different constructions, one for segments, one for circles. There is nothing challenging about today's class. If you get distracted because you have a sharp, pointy object in your hand and you're really thinking about, I don't know, stabbing the person next to you, get that out of your mind right now. All right. If you're thinking about cutting your finger or something, get that out of your head, right? Hey, you're 10th graders, so I would never do this class with 7th graders. But with 10th graders, right, it's perfectly fine, but I understand sometimes for some people, myself included, whenever I got a fancy little tool in my hand, all I cared about was playing with it, right? I was paying no attention to the teacher. This is just confusing enough that if you don't pay attention, you won't get it. Today's constructions, maybe not today's, but starting on Monday and through the rest of the chapter, some of these constructions are super complicated. But they're easy if you have the steps written down. So 2 things you got to do. One, we will practice these. We won't do too much practice in class. Like I said, today's constructions are the easy ones. But for the more challenging ones, you actually got to practice it. You actually got to read the steps over. You got to make sure they're clear in your mind. All right, here we go. It's literally called What Construction Means. All right, so I like this chapter because it's not complicated. It's just drawing things with a compass and a protractor. All right, constructions. We've been using the word constructions in our proofs since we started in chapter 2 with proofs. And I said it would say construct a new segment. So when it said construct a new segment, as a reason for that, we always put construction. Construction is just a fancy word for that you are able to make congruent segments or a new segment just by drawing. That's what this whole chapter is about, which is how do you do that stuff? There's only 2 tools involved. The first one is called the the first one is called a straight edge. That's what we're going to use our protractor for. And the second one is called a compass. And the compass is the thing that at this point you think you draw circles with. Turns out you don't draw circles with it. That's not what it's for. All right. These you can. These are the tools. That's it for the whole chapter. 2 things we got to do, right? We're going to write the steps down. The steps for each one, these constructions will be called construction 1, construction 2. They match up with the book. The book has their own instructions for how to do it. I don't use the book's instructions. I find a couple of them just don't have enough detail. So I have my own instructions. If you don't like my instructions and you want to copy the one from the book, you can do that. But what I need you to do in your book of truth, when we get to a construction, is like no joke, you need to write the steps down. You will forget how to construct an angle, a perpendicular bisector to a segment through a point not on the line. You will forget what to do. You're like, well, I don't even remember what to do here. However, if it's in your book of truth, it's going to say step 1 through step 7. Oh, yeah, some of these have lots of steps, not today's. We're doing 3 of them today. All right, so quickly on the sheet I just handed you out, a straight edge. A straight edge is a tool that draws lines and segments. A straight edge has no markings. It's not a ruler. It's a straight edge. It's an edge that's straight. That's your first definition.
Whoa, that's straight edge. Whoa.
That's what happens when you use 100%.
All right, your compass. It's a tool that measures distance, does not draw circles. It can draw a circle. And by the way, the book doesn't have this. I put that in there because everyone complains if I don't say, oh, and it also draws circles. You can draw circles and arcs with. By the way, we will be drawing arcs throughout this entire chapter. Okay. A compass is just a tool. It's how you measure things. You're like, isn't that what a ruler is? Well, we're going to be using our compass as our ruler. We're going to be using our compass, the thing that draws circles, as our ruler.
So we're supposed to have a measuring thing on that?
You'll see why it's called a measuring thing as soon as we do some of these.
No, but like, are we supposed to have
You will see why it's called a measuring device as soon as we do some. I know what you're asking. I'm not going to answer it right now. All right, what we will be doing this entire chapter are called constructions. So it's a method of drawing or reproducing geometric shapes. Straight edge is your first tool, compass is your second tool. What we're doing this chapter are called constructions. We will start with the easiest thing to construct, a segment, and we will work our way up to everything that we've made in this chapter, or this book so far. We could, and if you take the honors class, we can make hexagons with a straight edge and a compass. We won't in this class, right? No, it's just the amount of effort that you put in to make one of those is generally not worth it. All that for a hexagon. All right, so straight edge and compass. Now I have a ruler here. It's not that you can't use a ruler. You can use a ruler, but we're just not going to be using the numbers on the ruler ever, right? All right, so some background knowledge. Remember postulate 6 way back when, chapter 2, through any 2 points, there's exactly one line. If I draw 2 points, there's only one line that goes through those 2 points. We will be using that today as justification on something we're going to make. The first thing we're going to make is a segment. All right. A straight edge by definition is straight. So those are the 2 things that we're going to be using to do our constructions today. All right. A circle is the second thing we'll be, because we're going to make a circle today, and it will be made with the compass. You given a center and a radius, there's exactly one circle, right? There's only one circle through a given point that is 3 centimeters as its radius. There's not 2, there's only one. Now it's on a flat plane. If you think in 3 dimensions, there's an infinite number that makes a sphere. All right, when we make circles, yes, we'll be using a compass. So what are we doing in most of this chapter? We're constructing things. We're drawing things every day, right? It is your job, right, to learn these constructions. Now, what does that mean? That means if I write a step down and you write in your book of truth and you don't understand what you're writing, you stop me. What does that mean? I would prefer if you stop me after we actually do one example of the construction, because sometimes the step won't make sense until you do it. But if we're actually doing the construction and you're like, wait, what did you just do? What's step number 4 say? Well, that's when you ask those questions. The test is literally, I'm going to say, make a segment, make an angle, bisect the angle, give me a perpendicular bisector through this segment. That's what the test will literally say. Each one of those is an individual construction. You're going to have a piece of paper in your book of truth that says, how do you make a segment? Just follow the steps. Okay? There are no tricks involved, right? Nothing here, right? It's just simple steps. All right, if you can follow instructions that you write, this is an easy A. It's the only easy A of the entire book. If you can't follow instructions, you show up without your book of truth, you show up without a compass, you failed. All right. There's only a few of them that are confusing. They've got like 10 steps to them, but most of them have between, I don't know, 4 to 6 steps. The hardest thing about this entire chapter is writing down all these steps. So here we go. Here's our first one. In your book of truth, construction number 1 in the book, but I'm going to call it 1A. So construction 1A in your book of truth. Put, how do you make a congruent segment? This is the construction. Construction, how do you make a congruent segment? So it says make a new segment, CD, that is congruent to the given one. It's on your paper. Now, I don't want you to write the step, unless you forgot your book of truth. I don't want you to write the steps on this piece of paper. I want you to do the construction. Do you have enough light to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look, we're right here. We're on box number 2. We're going to make on this paper, we're going to make it. In your book of truth, you're going to write the steps. Okay? So here we go. Step number 1. Oh boy, look how small the text. Oh, it's going to get ugly, this chapter, for writing the steps. Write this down. Draw a new segment slightly larger than the given segment. Draw a new segment slightly larger than the given segment. The hardest thing in this chapter is writing the steps. Draw a new segment slightly larger. So I take my straight edge. There's my straight edge. And I'm going to draw a new segment that is slightly larger. Well, what's the definition of slightly? Not, well, whatever you think slightly means. Slightly larger. I need a new marker. I hope this is working, e-learners. Don't worry about this one all year long, this class. Or this chapter, I should say, because I can't do it from PowerPoint. So you're going to draw on your paper. Now do that. Make a segment using your straight edge, slightly larger. Good Lord, don't I have a pen that works?
No. I got one you can use.
I just grabbed this from the new ones. Should work. I think you can see that. We good? Step 1, done. Did you do this on your paper? Step 2. Now you're going to take your compass. You're going to measure the first segment, the given segment. I'll allow you to write that down and then we'll do it. There, we're going to measure the given segment. There are 2 types of compi, or compasses. The nice one had this little round dually thing because you can open it, close it. The bad part about this, it takes forever to open and close them.
Yeah.
But the distance never changes. It stays fixed. The bad kind are like what I got. It's got a little tensioner right here. So if I open it up and I crank it down, I can still move it. So sometimes it will change. These are the, if you haven't already bought it, which I think everyone has, that's the kind I would buy, the one with a little screw doohickey. All right, so how do you measure something? Well, watch me. I take my compass, I put one end on one end of the given, can they see this? I take one end on the starting point, I put the other end right here, and if you have one of the things like that, you lock that sucker down. So if I made a little arc right here, you see I'm measuring how far that segment is. This is the distance of that original segment. That's the distance of the original segment. Guess what you're going to do with this now? Step 3. You better write that. From one endpoint of the new segment, you're going to make that same distance. In other words, with your compass, you're going to make that same distance on the new one. See what I did there? Everybody? I said the first one's the easiest one. Guess what you just made?
A segment. Congruent.
But it said make CD congruent to AB, so what's missing here?
The points.
We got to put the points. So step 4, label. We're talking about the new segment. So we said it's going to be C, and where it winds up right here, put a dot instead of an arc, and put D. And then you'll get tired of the last statement, which is always write a congruency statement, which I already did to start with. So CD is congruent to AB and you're done. Okay, so it's really only 3 steps for this one. The label and the congruency statement are you're going to see that on almost every construction we do. Label is the very last, second to last one. And then if there's a congruency statement, you make a congruency statement. If there's not a congruency statement, then its label will always be your last one. All right, who's lost on what I did? Okay, step number 1, you draw a segment that's slightly larger. That can be a lot larger. It can't be shorter though. It's got to be longer. Step number 2, measure the given segment using your compass. How do we measure it? We put one end on A, the other one we put on B. We make a little arc right here just to confirm that. If there's a problem with the construction, why it will go bad is because if you have one like mine that has a little friction thing, all of a sudden you squeeze it, no, it's the wrong distance now. So you got to go back, remeasure it, relock it down. And sometimes even doing this right here, you cause it to open or close, right? Step number 3, we go to the new one. We make that arc. Step 4, label, and you're done. Who's lost? That's construction 1A, the easiest of the easy. I couldn't remember. Was it Jenna, you're online?
Yes.
Anybody else online? Okay. Cool. That's construction 1 in your book of truth. Questions? Did everybody do it at least once? Make a congruent segment? Danny, yes? Cool. Pretty easy, right? All right. I said we're going to do 3 constructions. That's 1. Tonight for homework, they're going to give you a segment. They're going to say, make another one. Now, occasionally for homework, they'll say, on your paper, draw a 3-centimeter segment. So I said we weren't going to use a ruler, but we're not going to be using a ruler to make the constructions in the sense of once you have your given. But occasionally they may have you either draw an angle or draw a segment of a certain measurement. All right, here we go. Construction 1B in your book of truth is the new one. Make a congruent circle. So I'll give you a circle, you make a congruent circle. So I'm going to give you a circle. You got to make one that's exactly like it. Well, how do you do that? Step number 1, put a new point somewhere on your paper. Okay, here's my new point. That's a pretty easy step. Anybody know where I'm going with this? Step 2. Okay, take my compass and do what? So step number 2 is going to be go to the given circle, and I got to measure 1 radius. Now, I gave you a circle that has a radius. What if they give you a circle that doesn't have a radius? Then what you would need to do is put a new point on the given circle and measure that distance. Because remember, all radii on a given circle are equal to each other. So if they don't give you a radius, I don't have that on my step, right? Step 2, I just say measure a radius. So I'm going to measure a radius on this given circle. We good? Can we see? I'm measuring from A to right here. Measuring right there. That looks good. I'm going to lock that sucker down. Trying not to change the distance of the compass when I'm doing that. We good on step 2? I measured the radius of the given circle. By the way, I measured A to B at that point that I just drew. It should be exactly the same distance, and it is. Okay. All right, step number 3. Well, it's the obvious one that you would do. Now you go to your new point that you just thing. Turns out it's kind of hard to draw circles with a compass. Okay, so what I would suggest is you hold the middle, the part without the pencil. You put it on there, your new point. Hold that point with your hand. And maybe not draw it in one go, right? Maybe draw it in a couple goes. Taking care that I'm not moving the middle. And if you do it right, you can see that, well, it turned into a pretty good circle. I wouldn't say a perfect circle, but a pretty good one. And hopefully you're not stabbing yourself while you're doing this. It can happen. Like if you're not careful and it's just sitting on your desk and somebody says something, you turn around real quick. You wouldn't be the first geometry student to have a injury during geometry class with a compass. Okay.
There's Brianna.
Brianna might be on here right now listening.
No,
No,
other
other
Brianna
one.
from last year.
Oh, the other Brianna. That's right. Right. I don't remember if she got injured or not.
Yes.
Last step, obviously, is to label. I don't know. Oh, we're told C. So here is circle C. Easy. Segment circles. Easy, 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 easy to do. You're going to be doing maybe not circles that much, but segments. You do enough of them that you'll have the segment one memorized. You only have to look at your notes for that one. Questions? Danny? You don't have to. You could if you wanted to put a radius. Key part here is that if you're given a circle without an already marked radius, then all you do is put a dot on the outside of the circle or on the circle itself, and then measure with your compass from the center to the outside. Because all radii of a given circle are the same. Matt, we good?
Yeah, no circles.
I said circle, I mean, even mine isn't perfect, right? But it's way more perfect than I tried to freehand it.
Keeps slipping.
It does, and that's why I was saying I always hold the center. The other thing too is that if you have a very small circle, it's really hard to do. Because then sometimes the center slips. Do you have all compasses with actual daggers on them?
Oh my.
Oh, I
Some people have like it's not even a sharp point and then it starts slipping, and like Ethan, I think you've got one. These are the 7th grade ones, right? It's not sharp, right? I don't know, yours is sharp. That should be. Some of them like they're really rounded, they just slip on the paper when you're doing
I
it.
literally use a ballpoint pen as mine because I kind of manufactured.
Yeah, but the pen itself is not, I'm talking about the pointy part.
Yeah,
Yeah, I made a
used
pen.
a ballpoint pen.
Oh, then yours is all jacked up, yeah.
Oh yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Kinda.
It's hard to draw, it's easy to draw a large one, but it's small one. All right, good. Okay, I said 3 constructions. We already did 2. There's only 1 left, and that's it. You do. It's the last. You're supposed to write a congruency statement as well too. I gave you the congruency statement as the starting point. So what is the test going to look like? I'm going to say, hey, draw a circle that's congruent to this circle. I mean, it's like I'm not joking when I'm saying it's an easy test until we get to the one that has like 9 steps on it. And even that one is easy if you understand each step. Then it's just a matter of you just reading it. You may not have the steps memorized, but it's just following instructions. Well,
That's not in the book.
it isn't in the book, right?
So there's,
That's why it's called 1B and not 2.
but there's still 3 in the book.
We're going to get there. Hold
But
on.
I wrote 2 of them already from the book.
Well, I said it's up to you whether you use my instructions or the book. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the book. It's just sometimes they'll write just like 2 words to mean something that's like this long.
Are there 4?
You don't have, if you wrote what's in the book in this one section, you're good to go. All right, your numbers won't match mine. All right, the next construction will seem like magic. All right, I have no idea how he does that. All right, here we go. This is the hardest construction right here. So this is called construction 2. I'm going to give you an angle. You're going to make one that's exactly like that angle. Yeah. It does. It was a mistake, and I only caught it this morning. Because I literally looked at the one that I gave you, and I didn't give you angle ABC. I gave you angle BAC. So, yeah, I messed up. And I was like, I hope nobody notices. But, of course, Cadence noticed. All right. Here we go. If there's one that's complicated, it's this one. You will do this enough that you will probably have this one memorized by the end of the chapter. Here we go. Step 1. You're going to make not a new angle, you're going to make a new ray. That is as big as one of these rays. That's kind of a strange statement. All it means is you draw a new ray that's at least as long as one of these rays. So, okay, I'm going to make a new ray that's at least as long as the given ray, given angle's rays. Why is that not drawing when I put it up against the ruler? It draws fine when I join it by itself. Do you see that my ray is at least as long as AC or AB? Do you see that? Okay. That's step one. This one's confusing the first time you do it. Let me see the book. Yeah, you're right. It's 4. I thought it was 3. I was wrong. Not surprising. All right, step 2. Oh boy, that's a lot of words. Here's what it says. It says, we're going to go to the given one right here. We're going to open up the compass a certain measurement. It doesn't even say how much. It just says a certain measurement. Using the compass, draw an arc on the given angle from its vertex through the 2 sides. It doesn't say how big to open this up. You're free to choose. Here's a pro trick. Longer is better. Don't make it as so long that you can't actually make it go through the 2 rays. So I'm going to make mine that long. You see what I'm doing? It's almost as long as AC. There is no rhyme or reason. This can be small, this can be large. It just can't be larger than AC. And I'm going to draw an arc. Now, everyone stop what you're doing and look at me. You got to see this once. So I open this up so that it's slightly smaller than AC. I put this on A, and I draw an arc that goes through both rays. I don't change this measurement. I'm just holding it in my hand. E-learners, we're good? That's step 2. You got to stop me from going too fast. Step 3. Now I'm going to go to the new ray that I just drew. I didn't ever change the measurement of my compass. And I'm going to make that same arc on my new one. I'm making that same arc on the new one. See what it did? I said this one seems like magic. Step 1, draw a new ray that's longer than any one of the other 2 rays of the given. Step 2 is you make this arc on the given. Step 3 is you make that arc, that same arc, without changing it. You can't change the measurement on the new one. We okay? All right. Step 4. All right, look at the board. Let me show you what I'm doing, then you can write the words. Look at the board. Okay. Lot of words. By the way, you can use whatever words describe what I'm doing. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to my given one. You with me, Chris? I'm going to go back to my given, and I'm going to measure how far it is between this intersection and this intersection. See what I'm doing? So I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to measure. Oh, I got to do make sure everyone can see this. I'm going to measure from here to right there. See what I'm doing? Now you got to be careful when you pull away. Don't change that measurement. Okay. On the given angle, using your compass, measure the distance from the intersection of the 2 arcs. I'm sorry, the arc and the 2 sides. That's all I did. I measured that distance. I measured how far it is from here to here. Not saying I've already done it. I'm waiting for the next step. Matt, what do you think the next step is?
Probably go to the new ray
And find out where that intersection would be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to allow you to write whatever words you like for step 4, describing what I did. I just measuring how far it is from here to here. Matt figures it out. Step 5 is I measure that. I can't move it, but I'm going to measure that distance. Watch me. From this intersection. And I'm going to draw where that would intersect right there. Draw that distance on the new ray. It will intersect that first arc that you just made. You got it. I'm going to go ahead and, since we already did that, then I'm going to go from the start through that intersection point. And if I'm accurate, I can actually measure this with a protractor and find out that the two angles are exactly the same. If I was accurate. Mark the new intersection that connects the end point of the ray to that intersection point. My claim is those two angles are now the same. If you'd like to take your, since most of you do have a protractor, if you want to take your protractor and measure, let's see. Now, granted, there's some slop in this thing because we're using our hands and we're not perfectly accurate, but I bet you're within a degree or two. Let's see, mine is, I am accurate as possible. Mine looks to be 40 degrees. And then on the one that I just made, oh, I'm dead on, 40 degrees. Usually I'm off by a degree when I do this. That was perfect that time. Okay. Lastly, you make your labels. So what do we call it? EDF. So EDF. What am I thinking of? European dance, EDM, European dance music. Okay.
Isn't it electric dance music?
Is it electric dance music?
EDM.
I don't know. You always hear it from Europe, so
Well, Europe really likes.
you're probably right. I'm wrong, but
I mean, it's all techno stuff.
it's all techno. Okay, that's a lot of steps. 8 steps. It's really just 6 steps because the last 2 steps are always label right congruency statement. Do you want to see that one again, or we got it? And most of you figured it out before I finished where this was going. Like I was watching, half of you were like, you already had it drawn on your paper before we wrote the steps down. We will do this one enough too that you'll probably have this one memorized. Yeah. No, because we've got to get the last one done. What's the last one we're doing, Chandler? A bisector? Okay. All right, we got one left to do. We okay? Can I race? By the way, I have a whole day of practice before the quiz. So we're going to have I forget how many constructions we'll have for the quiz. It's probably at least 6 or 7 of them. But we'll have a day of all we're going to do is show up to class and we're going to practice them. And Connor's going to remember to bring his compass and protractor. Yes? Okay. All right, last one. Did I call? Yeah. Construction 3. Make an angle bisector.
Is it actually the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I only lied once today.
I thought you say earlier it was 4.
Well, remember I had a 1A, 1B.
Oh yeah, 1A, 1B.
I thought it was 3, but that's because I was thinking of the numbers, construction 3. Okay, so here we go. I got to make a bisector of this angle. Step 1. Draw an arc through the 2 sides. Doesn't say how big to make it. I always make it, I don't know, at least half. Oh, we're out of time. All right, we got 2 minutes. Let's see if we can do this. Step number 2. Okay. You ready? Step number 2, look at me. I'm going to open this up a suitable distance. I'm just not going to change it from that distance. Watch me. From this intersection right here, or the bottom one, either one, watch me. I'm going to make a new arc. See what I did? Then guess what I'm going to do? Without moving it, I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. Then what?
Are you gonna just like draw it straight through that straight?
You got it. So that's the whole process right there.
Oh my God.
But all I did was I made a new arc. Now the book says you can change the distance. I just never changed the distance. You can change the distance, it'll still work. As long as you don't make it too small. You make it too small, the two arcs won't ever intersect. So from the intersection of arc 1, that was this one right here, you draw this new one, arc 3, and you do the same thing from that point right there. Don't change the distance. Your last step is you go from A. I gotta get better magnets for my straight edge. Through right here. 3 constructions. Boom. Confirm that with a protractor if you'd like. This class works better when it's not on a Friday, when I only have 37 minutes to teach this. I didn't leave anything off. There's just some examples like, is it literally just going to be that easy? No, they're going to make it slightly more complicated, but those are the basic instructions. Like, Chandler, what was one for homework? For example.
Take like an angle, subtract like the
Right.
line. Or
So remember, the relationship mathematically between these two angles is one is half of the other. They're going to have you take two angles and put them together. Like add this angle, this angle. So you just basically make a new angle on top of the one that you create. I anticipate some of you will have some challenges with some of the homework, right? If you have these 3 constructions, like the basic, go ahead. The basic ideas down, you should be okay. Okay. The homework is somewhat challenging, but the quiz and the test are just going to be do the constructions. All right, e-learners, I hope that that worked out well for you. I will review the video later and see if it looks good to me. If it doesn't look good, I'll probably redo the video again, but hopefully that looked okay. All right, Jenna and company, have a good weekend. We will see you on Monday.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.